Hey, everybody. Hi. Hey, you get the award. I think you're the youngest person here. How old are you?
7.
Anybody younger than 7 in this audience? Anybody younger than 7? You win. Filmmakers and film viewers are all welcome here at the Nantucket Shorts Festival. You're the youngest person here. We're hoping that you're going to make a film for us next year. I'm John Shea. I am your host right now. You know, for everybody who came here thinking that it was free, I'm sorry about that. Nothing on Nantucket is free. There's not even a potter's field on Nantucket. If you have somebody that you can't afford to bury, you got to take them out to the bluff. There's landfill in Sconset. We could use bodies out there. But that's about it on Nantucket. The $10 that you just spend to come into this film festival goes to support the very film festival that you're going to see. And it's a great thing because it's the only film festival on Nantucket ever that is made by Nantucketers. They're films that are made by Nantucketers about Nantucket. Those are the rules. And by the way, it's open to anybody and everybody. You can make a film for us next year, okay? So, if you live on Nantucket or you're visiting in Nantucket and you want to make a film here, it could be a 1-minute film, it could be a 10, 15, 20-minute film, it doesn't matter. If you have an idea and you have some friends and you have a camera, if you have an iPhone, and that, by the way, is to remind me to tell you to turn yours off soon, but you could shoot your film on this, for sure, and you can edit it, and you can be in this film festival next year. So what you're going to see today are 9 films that were made by Nantucketers on Nantucket. And it couldn't happen without your support coming here tonight. It couldn't happen without the Nantucket Arts Council. And this is part of the Nantucket Arts Weekend, this whole week, right? So we have film, but we have theater, we have music, we have art, we have all the arts. And we want to say special thanks to the Nantucket, and you'll read it on the front, Arts Festival and the Arts Council that supports this film festival. Thank you to everybody. Things on Nantucket cost money. Everything does. And we have supporters. And I want you to know who these sponsors are, and I want you to invite you next year to become a sponsor. If you look at the back of your program, I'm going to read them out, okay? There's September Films. That's Dan Driscoll. He's one of the founders of this festival. Thank you, Danny. The one and only. And then you're going to see Kit Noble's Nantucket Films, a noble man, the kid himself. We want to thank Arlene O'Reilly and her Mind's Eye production. Arlene, thank you. And then for those of you who are single and looking to get married, I want you to know that being a festival sponsor for us is a really good thing. We only have 5 sponsors, but 2 out of the 5 sponsors are on their honeymoon this week. All right? One of them is Steve Cheney from the Cheney Brothers Builders. He's in Paris on his honeymoon. Let's thank you, Steve. You don't need good luck. You're having good luck right now. And then the pièce de résistance. You know, the woman who's sort of at the heartbeat of the Nantucket film scene so many years is Lisa Fry, who just got married last week. Woo! Michael Getter is the lucky man. Michael from Dune Restaurant. Where are you, Michael? Michael! Oh my God, are you a lucky guy? Oh God, everybody loves Lisa Fry. And she said her name is now Lisa Getter. And I said, no, your name is Lisa Fry. Go Getter, something, I don't know, man. But you're a brand at this point, Lisa, so we'll see how this develops, okay? So there's 5 people. And look, that's it for the introduction. I'm going to say we're going to watch these 9 films right now. Afterward, you have ballots. We're going to pass out, if you haven't gotten them already, the ballots. We got little pencils to fill them out. We'll do a little Q&A afterward. And it's going to be short and sweet. These are the short and sweet films. All right, so enjoy. I'll see you later.
So here we have Beth Weldon and we have Nico.
Iwakimidis.
I'm not even going to attempt that, so thank you for doing that. But could you tell me the name of your short film?
The name of my short film is Talking Bees with Jimmy.
Talking Bees with Jimmy. I can't wait to see it. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I have been a beekeeper over the last 10 years. I'm not currently, but when I started, Jim Gross, who I consider to be the master beekeeper on Nantucket, helped me get set up with it. And I was just infected by his energy and enthusiasm around bees and beekeeping and his humor. So I wanted to do a movie mostly about Jimmy with the backdrop of the bees. And that's what I hope to accomplish in doing this movie, was to show his energy and enthusiasm.
So this is your first short film?
This is my first short film.
And you're going to do more?
I hope to do many more, yes.
Very cool. So from the beginning of making the short film, what was your most enjoyable part of it?
I think the most enjoyable part was actually sitting with Jim and instructing him on what I'd like him to do, and listening to him, encouraging him, pulling in a few other people to be sort of cameo appearances in the background, and actually taking some footage on my phone. I was more successful with my phone this time around, but I'm hoping to get into the camera soon.
Cool. And Nico, what part did you have involved in the film?
So Beth came to me when she was looking for somebody for the technical aspect of things.
Right.
So I was a camera operator for the film. I set up the lighting. I actually took a huge china ball and we set it up right over the table outside. It had beautiful lighting throughout the film. So I was more the technical aspect. After everything, after we shot everything, we sat down and we edited it together. So I was basically the technical aspect of the film.
Okay. So making the film, what was the most challenging part, would you think?
The editing certainly is something that I have to start learning if I'm going to make more films. Without Nico, quite honestly, this film would not have been made. It would have been still an idea in my head, so I'm very grateful to this young man. However, I do think I can learn it, and the program does seem like something I could manage and master, so that's my next step.
Do you know that NCTV are going to start short film classes in the next couple of weeks?
I didn't know when they were starting, but I'll be there.
Yeah, can't wait. Well, I can't wait to see the film. Good luck, guys.
Thanks.
How it all started? Well, it started because I had Lyme disease twice, years ago. And I took the medication 4 times. I shouldn't tell my funny story about the hospital.
Sure, tell your funny story about the hospital. I'd love to hear it.
So I was working in the harbor, had an engine all apart, and I felt terrible, so I went home and went to bed. Got up on Sunday morning, and my wife, Laura, said, "What's that on your leg?" And I said, "It's nothing." And I covered it over. It was a lime, a rose. So she said, "Okay, let's go. We're going down to the ER." So I went in the ER, and they said, "Yeah, you got Lyme disease." I had one on my leg, one here, and one on the back of my leg. So that's when Margot Hartman was the head of the ER, a long time ago. And she said, "Well, you can take penicillin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, or doxycycline." And I said, "Well, I can still take penicillin, and besides, if I have the clap, it'll fix that too."
So what is royal jelly?
This thing is still running.
Yep.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah.
Royal jelly is it's like a superfood. I take royal jelly every day. That's what makes me look like I'm 35 when I'm really 75.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me you're actually 75.
You get any extra?
Yeah. And royal jelly is produced when the queen lays an egg. It's an egg for 3 days, and it's like a little white thread standing up in the bottom of the cell. And so the first day it's standing straight up. The second day it's like at a 45, and the third day it lays down, and then after the third day it emerges or hatches into a larva. And a larva looks like a little croissant in the bottom of a cell. It's just like this. And they're small in the beginning because it's just the egg. And they are all floated in royal jelly for 3 days. And the nurse bees that take care of them, they produce royal jelly from 2 different glands in their head, from the hypopharyngeal gland above the breathing and the mandibular gland, the chewing parts. So they feed all larvae, male, female, the queen, whatever, royal jelly for 3 days. And then after 3 days, if it's going to be a queen, she gets royal jelly her whole life. But if it's going to be a queen, they vary the ratio of those 2 glands that produce the royal jelly. Instead of 50-50, they make it 65-35, and that will allow the female bee to turn into a queen. And she'll produce, her ovaries will develop, and she'll turn into a queen.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
When I built our house back in 1980,
It's right here. It's over here.
I had tendonitis in my elbow for years from overdoing it and whatnot. I used to wear a brace to control the tendons. And then I was a scalloper for 18 years, and I could only open like a box of scallops and they'd start squeaking. So and then I had a bubble in there to put more pressure on it. And then I went to the hospital. I had ultrasound therapy, which made it even worse. And then the second year I had bees, I used to wear gloves with elastic up to here. And I got stung right in the elbow. I was like, damn, that hurts. But the next day it was like, boy, it hasn't felt that good in 15 years.
That's amazing.
Really?
So I started doing research on it, and I joined the American Apitherapy Society, people who sting themselves and other people. And
As a therapist.
I cured myself. I have people that come out, I sting them for arthritis, tendonitis, bursitis, for Lyme disease.
That's crazy.
There was an article in their newsletter about 7-8 years ago about one of the ingredients in bee venom is melatonin. And the melatonin kills the Lyme spirochete. And I'm in the generator business, and I'm crawling around the bushes all the time. And 2 years ago, the Cape and the islands, all the towns, could send 100 ticks up to UMass and Amherst and have them analyzed for free. There was a grant. And in this town, we sent 35 ticks up there, which is stupid. This town we should have sent 400 ticks up there, as bad as Lyme disease is here. So that year I got 16 tick bites.
Holy crap.
I'm crawling around the bushes working on generators. You know, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So I pull off the tick, and then I would sting myself 3 times wherever the tick bit me. And I had them all analyzed. I was half of the study on Nantucket. 16 ticks, they only sent 35. It's the health department, chicken shit.
Don't put that in.
No, you can put that in. I've told them. No, they're worried about septic system runoff into the harbor. They should be worried about Lyme disease and or tick-borne diseases, as well as fertilizer on the grass, more than the septic system. Anyway,
You got them analyzed.
I had them analyzed. Out of the 16, I had 4 were positive, 2 for Lyme disease, 1 for Lyme's and Ehrlichia, and 1 for Lyme's and Babesia. And I had a Lyme titer in September, and I didn't get any of them. But my wife, she didn't like getting stung because it hurt, and she had like 10 bites that year, and she got ehrlichiosis. So I've been stinging people ever since, or since before that. But some people come out, you know, I had a guy with a tick bite on the side of his cheek, on his butt. And I said, okay, drop your pants.
Do you ever tire of talking about bees?
No. What, are you kidding?
I didn't think so. I love it.
When Laura was alive and we used to go someplace and somebody would ask me a question about bees, she said, don't ask him. He'll be talking all night.
It's fascinating. You're such an expert, and you obviously are so animated talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, they're great.
It's great. They are fascinating.
So the the most things that are written about in the world are people. The most books written are written about people. The next
Really?
biggest amount of books written is about bees.
Really?
Yeah.
So you should write a book about your 23 years of experience with bees. Just, you know, this is kind of the outline. Everything that you said tonight has covered everything. You could just go into expanding it, and it would be a fabulous book. I think. Why not? You could even record it into your phone or something.
I have enough stuff to do right now. Maybe when I retire.
Oh, yeah.
So we have Andrew Cromarty here and Michael, what was your last name?
Austin?
Oh, Michael Mofson here. And could you tell me the name of your film?
Yes, it's called Found and Lost.
And how did you come about the idea of making this short film?
I've always wanted to make kind of a horror ghost story about the bunker in Tom Nevers because it's really creepy.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, and I think somebody needs to make a story about that.
And during making this short film, what was the most enjoyable part of making this film for you?
Pretty much every aspect of it. I called Michael. I was like, hey, let's just get something up and let's use my drone and my camera equipment. And then Alexandra Kopko and Frida Matea are in it as well. I thought, hey, do you guys just want to be a part of a short film? It took us about a day to shoot it and, of course, months to edit it. So the whole process was a lot of fun.
Cool.
That's just why we wanted to do it.
Okay. And Michael, what was your part in the film?
I did all the sound for the movie and drove around for the drone scenes, which was the most fun part of the whole film.
Is this the first time you've worked on a short film?
No, I've worked on a few other short films at college, but this is the first professional one I've been on. So.
Great, okay.
Yeah.
And do you think you're going to be making more short films?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So next year you're going to submit another one?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm going to do like a two-parter for this one.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a second part and maybe a third part. So maybe a little series going on.
Great, can't
Yeah.
wait. Well, thank you both and good luck.
Thank you.
There's no way I'm losing this bet. How hard can it be?
Immensely hard,
Well,
actually.
we find the thing and we take a picture of the thing and we put it online.
No, we find the thing, we take the thing, we leave.
Okay, you didn't tell me anything about stealing.
It's not stealing. Nobody's gonna know that it's gone.
Are we breaking and entering too?
Yes, generally how you get these things.
Promise we're not gonna get caught.
Yes, I promise. I pinky promise.
Thank you.
That's it? That's what the map says. Come on.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Okay. It's a big door.
I need your help. I can't do this myself.
Hey, it doesn't open. Guess we can go home.
No, we can't go home. Get over here and help me.
Help you?
I'm gonna lose the bet if you don't. Come on.
Okay, fine. But you owe me a really big coffee.
Yeah. One,
Two, three.
We have done Suro here, and he has made his first short film. And could you tell me the name of your short film, Don?
Nantucket, a nuclear attack, with ACK in capital letters under attack.
And could you tell me what your short film is about?
Sure. On Nantucket is one of the atomic bunkers that was built for JFK during the height of the Cold War, when nuclear proliferation was taking off, and we have a page of that history right here. The front doors are still open. You can walk into it. It's pretty amazing and pretty glaring. And to think that somebody might contemplate living in one of those things for 50 years without coming out, or 60, whatever it's been now, is pretty amazing. You wouldn't want to do it.
Right. Right. And what made you decide on making this film?
I want to learn from you. Oh, no, that's true. I think that film and video are the media of the future. And so learning the tools of this show, and I've been at it for a while now with TV18, cranking out dailies, but this is my first official Nantucket short film.
Okay. So what would you say was your the most challenging part of making the short film?
The length of time it goes into making it. When this challenge was put before me, it was like, whoa, do I have the time? And indeed, it came down to the wire.
Yeah, you did. You followed through, and that was it. You made your first short film.
I have made the first short film, and I'm anxious to see it on the big screen.
No, it's going to be awesome. So what was the most enjoyment? What part of the film did you most enjoy making out of it?
The storyline itself. I think that there's a story that needs to be told there, and I'm trying to bring attention to some of that story without pointing fingers.
And do you think you're going to make any more films after this one?
I don't think I'm finished with this one.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, I'll go back, and you're never done with an artistic piece. There's always more polish and buff you can put onto it, and certainly that's the case here.
Cool.
So I will go on though, and you will be seeing more of me.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and can't wait to see your film.
It was the height of the Cold War. Nuclear missiles proliferated on both sides of the Atlantic. Constructing bases in Turkey and Italy, NATO was systematically building an offensive threat aimed at the USSR. The failed Bay of Pigs fiasco of April '61, an armed invasion of Cuba that attempted to overthrow Castro, humiliated U.S. foreign policy, the CIA, and JFK, heightening tensions between the East and West. In October of '62, the Cuban Missile Crisis would push the world to the razor edge of a global nuclear holocaust. Children around the nation were taught to duck and cover. The Nantucket bomb shelter was built expressly for the President, leader of the free world, during these precarious times. Nantucket was chosen as the site because the Kennedy family compound was located close by and could be easily accessed. JFK's time in office was marked by extreme tensions with the communist states. After World War II, politics degenerated into a Cold War marked by the McCarthy era. The Central Intelligence Agency emerged as our government's behind-the-scenes information-gathering arm. As director of the OSS during World War II, Allen Dulles worked in intelligence to undermine the Nazi threat in Europe. As head of the Central Intelligence Agency during the Cold War, he oversaw the Guatemalan coup d'etat, the overthrow of Iran's elected government, the Lockheed U-2 aircraft program, and the Bay of Pigs invasion. In March of 1960, before he left office, President Eisenhower allocated over $13 million to the CIA to plan Castro's overthrow. The agency hired the mafia to assassinate the Cuban leader. The cost? $150,000. In September of 1960, Director Dulles and Deputy Director Richard Bissell initiated talks with two leading figures of the underworld, Johnny Rosselli and Sam Ganciana. The advantage to employing the mafia was that it provided the CIA with a credible cover story. The underworld was known to be angry with Castro for closing down profitable brothels and casinos in Cuba. If the assassins were killed or captured, the media would accept that they were working for their own purposes. The Mafia agreed to take the contract. These assassination attempts failed, however, and the CIA began working on a direct military assault. The invasion was supported by various Cuban counter-revolutionary forces. The insurgents set sail from Guatemala and Nicaragua on April 17, 1961, in an effort to overthrow the increasingly communistic government of Fidel Castro. Within 3 days, the invasion collapsed, and the thinly veiled disguise of the CIA, backed by U.S. involvement, was obvious to most of the world. The reputation of the agency and its director declined drastically after the Bay of Pigs. The failed coup strengthened Castro's leadership, making him a national hero, as well as forging closer ties with communism, Khrushchev, and the USSR. After the embarrassment, President Kennedy reportedly said he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. In October of '62, it was discovered that Soviet ballistic missiles were being deployed in Cuba. Khrushchev had agreed to Cuba's request to place nuclear missiles in Cuba to deter future harassment. This time of tension is seen by many historians as the closest the human race has ever come to nuclear war between armed nuclear belligerents. This was the zeitgeist during which Nantucket's bomb shelter was constructed. Missile preparations were confirmed when an Air Force U-2 spy plane produced clear photographic evidence of medium-range and intermediate-range ballistic missile facilities. The United States established a military blockade to prevent additional missiles from entering Cuba. They would not permit offensive weapons to be delivered to Cuba and demanded that the weapons already in Cuba be dismantled and returned to the USSR. After tense negotiations, an agreement was reached between Kennedy and Khrushchev. Publicly, the Soviets agreed to dismantle their offensive weapons in Cuba and return them to the Soviet Union. In exchange, the U.S. offered a public declaration never to invade Cuba without direct provocation. Secretly, the United States also agreed that it would dismantle all U.S.-built medium-range ballistic missiles deployed in Turkey and Italy, but unknown to the public. RFK, JFK's brother, wrote the book on corruption and organized labor, literally. RFK was relentless in his pursuit of Teamsters Union President Jimmy Hoffa, due to Hoffa's known corruption in financial and electoral matters. The enmity between the two men was intense, with accusations of a personal vendetta, a blood feud, exchanged between them. Convictions against organized crime figures rose by 800% under RFK's leadership. Due to the belligerent attitudes offered by his military advisors, JFK circumnavigated traditional channels of communication by using backdoors to talk to Khrushchev and Castro. By doing so, he managed to tick off a number of individuals and groups. He angered J. Edgar Hoover because he was planning on retiring the director after the next election. JFK angered LBJ because he planned to drop him from the presidential ticket in '64. Bobby Baker, LBJ's personal secretary, was under congressional scrutiny for scandal. Through this investigation, the legal focus was closing in on Lyndon, who, if implicated, would be facing certain jail time. According to President Kennedy's secretary, Evelyn Lincoln, RFK was also investigating Bobby Baker for tax evasion and fraud. This had reached the point where the president himself discussed the Baker investigation with his secretary, telling her that his running mate in '64 would not be Lyndon Johnson. He angered the heads of the Texas oil industry because he threatened to cut their oil depletion allowance, which had given them tax breaks worth thousands of dollars since the '30s. JFK had proposed plans to submit to Congress a tax reform plan designed to produce about $185,000 million in additional revenues by changes in the favorable tax treatment accorded the gas oil industry. JFK angered the military because he would not go along with their plan to create a false flag event as an excuse to launch a full-scale attack against Cuba, as outlined by Operation Northwoods. He removed the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Lyman Lemnitzer. He angered both the military and the oilmen by proposing to bring American troops home by the end of '65. He angered the CIA through their public embarrassment after the Bay of Pigs, firing Dulles, Bissell, and Cable, the three heads of the CIA. Cord Meyer was the head of International Organizations Division and the Directorate of Plans for the CIA. JFK was sleeping with Mary Meyer, Cord Meyer's ex-wife. JFK angered Cord Meyer. As a direct result of his assassination, Hoover and the FBI personally monitored and gathered all evidence concerning the assassination. Hoover kept his job as director of the FBI until his death in 1972. LBJ became president, barring any jail time. The Texas oilmen kept their oil depletion allowance tax break through the administration of LBJ. The military got their war in Vietnam. Allen Dulles, the CIA chief fired by Kennedy, was selected by LBJ to become a policy-guiding member of the Warren Commission. 3 weeks after the Warren Commission report was released, Mary Meyer, who had been JFK's lover and confidant, was murdered in an unsolved crime. The nuclear fallout bunker in Nantucket represents this moment in time, the peak of the Cold War, when passions ran extreme and the world looked into the abyss of nuclear destruction. For Athena's Web and Nantucket TV, this is Don Serow.
So here we have the Bosco brothers. Can you tell me your names?
Jack.
Thomas.
And these are last year's winners. I don't know if you can remember Survival on Nantucket, but these are the filmmakers from last year. So they're back again with their new short film. Could you tell me the name of it?
Tomfoolery.
And how did you come up with this idea?
Well, we did like the old cop shows, and we thought that would be very funny if we did like an old cop show on Nantucket. Plus, somebody actually stayed in our house during the winter, like uninvited or anything, just slept there.
That really happened?
Yeah, that really happened. So we made a short film, like cop show, with somebody sleeping in other people's houses.
Right.
Thought it would be pretty funny.
To make it up of something factual that happens.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be the most enjoyable part of making this film?
We had Scott Capizzo, the first festival's winner, come in, and he played a part in as the interrogator for the main character, and like we had like this entire half of a day devoted to just shooting all of these dialogue scenes with Scott, and that was like a ton of fun.
Yeah, he's good fun, isn't he? And what would you say the most challenging part was?
The most challenging part was getting ourselves together and getting like motivation to go out there and film every day. Because it's during the summer and sometimes it's hard.
Right. Yeah. And how long did it take you from start to finish, do you think?
Well, this entire idea for our film was formulated and carried out within that one summer, while Survival on Nantucket was like years in production. So yeah, this one is definitely. I think the idea behind it is better, and I mean I think it came out just as well as the first one.
So would you say you had just as much fun making this one as the last one?
I think we did.
You did? And so what part of the process did you guys do? Who was filming, who was editing? Can you tell me that?
Well, we were both editing and I was filming. The process was very similar to the last one. We saw how that worked out and we decided to stick with it.
Yeah. Good job. So this is film number 2. Is there number 3 coming along?
Probably. Yeah.
Maybe.
So.
I don't know.
No.
No ideas.
Not yet.
We can't say we do.
I'm sure our parents have a multitude of ideas.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, good luck, guys. I can't wait to see. I've seen a snippet of it that you showed me, but I can't wait to see the whole thing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
It's so good to be back on Nantucket.
What is that?
What?
That's blue ribbon.
Need water before we begin?
Yes, please, detective.
Let's get right to it. What's your name?
It's Haywood Jabite Me.
Haywood Jabite Me? Spell it.
Jabiteme. Jabite Me.
Now exactly how long have you been on this island?
2014, I believe it was. Memorial Day. Visiting the island for the first time with a few friends from Boston. A lovely, spirited weekend. Some sailing was involved, if I do recall correctly.
How long are you here for? Just until tomorrow. We got in yesterday. Oh, nice.
A weekend turned into a few weeks, and I found myself totally captivated by the island. Smitten, in fact. The natural beauty, the sweet kindness of the people. A warm welcome everywhere I went.
Oh, Gibby, as much as I love going to Wimbledon, I do wish we could stay on Nantucket a few weeks more. My skin gets so dry on international flights, I'll have to mist my face with Dom Perignon again. I don't care if they do have reclining seats in first class.
Now, Buffy. While we're abroad, you can shop at Harrods, dine at Tour d'Argent, and then we'll head straight to Monaco and make the most of it till we come back for the pops.
Okay, let's go get on that dreadful jet. Be a love, though, and don't forget to leave the key under the shingle.
I simply couldn't find it in me to leave, Detective.
Look here, Jabite Me. You're accused of some serious crimes, breaking and entering, just for starters. So cut the crap and tell me what's your island address.
Now, Detective, no need to get your knickers in a twist. If you're asking me where I get my mail, I'd simply tell you that we both know mail doesn't actually get delivered on this island. If you're asking me where I rest my head at night, then that gets a little bit more involved.
That's exactly what I want to know.
First wintered at the Buchanan's in Sconset. Tomfoolery, I believe the quarterboard was. Exquisite back veranda overlooking the ocean where I could take my morning espresso with the warm sun streaming across my cheeks.
Here's the question, Jabite Me. Did the Buchanans invite you to stay in their house? Yes or no?
Detective, please. The Buchanans are very generous people. One peek at their fully stocked bar will tell you that they love to entertain guests. They have the most whimsical placard over the fireplace that says, "The more the merrier in our little beach cottage." It's charming, really, when you consider that they have 8 bedrooms and a heated widow's walk. But truth is, Detective, the damp Sconset wind in January was simply too much for my nerves. It gets a bit bleak, looking out over those dark, rolling waves, slowly eroding my peace of mind. So I had no choice but to move to more suitable lodging in town.
And where was that?
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive, and the world is turning inside out. Yeah. I'm floating around in ecstasy, so don't stop me now. Don't stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. I shoot the side of river to the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car, passing by the lady Godiva. I'm gonna go, go, go. There's no stopping me. I'm burning through the sky. Yeah. 200 degrees is what it comes, Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm driving at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball.
Orange Street, I believe it was. Lovely home, 5 fireplaces, impressive wood detail, a vodka collection that would impress even Jared Coffin, and a pantry stocked full of beluga caviar. It reminded me of my childhood in the Black Sea. Nice. Historic. Can't wait to see how they gutted the kitchen.
Wait. What was that? I thought you were a Brit.
My Bulgarian ancestry, Detective, it comes out when I'm a little bit stressed. Anyway, they had the most delightful Belgian linens on every bed. Not at all like those dreadful Matuk sateens over at Rantum Scoot on Cliff Road. God. Figures.
Cliff Road? Charles Emerson Livingston Winchester Taylor III's house?
Indeed, connoisseurs of life, they are. With a flat screen TV so big you could project in an image of the entire ocean on it and never once have to step foot on a bloody beach. Fantastic hot tub, though.
Are you telling me all of these people invited you to stay in their home?
Well, they didn't not invite me, and let's be honest, while you're away enjoying your 3rd and 4th homes, wouldn't you sleep better at night knowing that your pipes are being kept toasty warm during the cold, cold winter? It's a favor, really.
That's enough. You've been arrested for some serious crimes here. Stealing precious andirons, for starters. It's one thing to sleep in somebody's house when they don't know it. We've all done that before. But stealing is unacceptable and we won't have it on our island.
50% cut to the auction house? Now that's stealing. Stealing? I strongly object to that characterization. This island prides itself on recycling. Why, I picked up a late 17th century mahogany settee at the dump. Take it or leave it, Detective. That's my story.
You wait here, Haywood, you bite me. I'm going to get the chief.
You gotta love this island.
So here we have Beverly Hall and Nico.
Iwakimidis.
I'm not going to try to say that again. I've been trying. So, Beverly, this is your first short film. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I've been playing the part of Hannah at Greater Light all summer, and I was fascinated by the character many, many years ago, and I decided the best way to interpret a place you love is to become the person who owns that place. So I became Hannah for the summer and based my monologue, which the film is based on, from Hannah's writings.
And what would you say the most challenging part of making this film would be?
Editing.
Yeah, Beverly and I didn't see eye to eye on some things, but at the end of the day, we got it all done. I mean, there was some times where we would get on each other's last nerve, but
I don't think so. No, I think we did just fine together. In fact, I was going to compliment Nico because he seemed to envision my ideas before I knew what they were. I never got on your nerves.
Oh, I think no. And I remember when you talked to me about it, about this idea, the vision that you had. Then when I saw the whole thing come together, because this is the only film I have actually seen in fruition, and I couldn't believe how much you did get Beverly's vision, and he had it down, the light and everything. It was just amazing. What would you say was the most enjoyable part was?
The enjoyable part was finishing it, to see it all come together after all the ideas, all the images, all the words that and all the different cuts that we had from the people. And to see the peeper coming over the fence and the surprise to go get that one woman, which was a complete surprise, to put someone in there that just gave the whole experience a bit of humor, and it was a surprise.
Right.
So it was very enjoyable. The most enjoyable part now is going to be to see it on the big screen.
I know, that's going to be amazing. Really, I can't wait to see it up there.
Super exciting. I mean, one of the biggest things about making a short film, and I know Beverly kept saying this, is why does it have to be 10 minutes? Because at the end of the day, you've got so many ideas running through your head. You want to do so many things, and you have to condense it down to 10 minutes and keep it relevant as well. So it's always really interesting to be able to make a short film like this.
Yeah. So this is your first short film. So are there any more films down the pipeline?
Absolutely. We've already started working on the one for next year.
That's amazing.
We've done a couple of interviews. I won't tell you the subject yet. I'll keep it as a secret. But
is it going to be for the Short Film Festival next year?
It will be for the Short Film Festival. It will probably be the condensed version of the longer film that we really want to make, because we have more time to work on it, and more people to interview and more ideas to put together. And it's a much longer story.
Yeah. Can't wait to see that as well. Well, good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see it on the big screen.
I can't wait.
Okay.
So many events in this tale happened decades ago, but now the urge has come to share with others our view of heaven as we see it here in this one spot. We are not speaking of a locality, but a state of mind. It was over 70 years ago. My sister Gertrude was drawing some letters on a long wooden board, the name we had chosen for our house. Greater Light. Why, I can still hear our preacher reading that phrase from the Bible.
And God made two lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night.
And today, as I sit here reading and reminiscing, I can see those late afternoon shadows drift across the lawn. The scent of peonies, the lilies, the memories of so many friends and family gathered around this patio, laughing and sharing stories. Gertrude with a book on her lap, Our greyhound, Angel Gabriel, curled up at her feet. This garden grew as we did. Why, look by those stone steps. Our little juniper, brought from Austria, once the size of a boot. We planted it with such care, and now look at it, it's a towering tree. Its branches provide grateful shade as well as keeping out the passers-by in the street. In the old days, I could seldom step outside without those peepers hanging about and those cameras poking over the hedges. So disconcerting. And yet, within our house and grounds, I feel such perfect peace and harmony. Isn't it odd how two such opposite feelings can exist side by side? This house so captivated our imagination from the moment we saw it. Remember what you said, Gertrude, as you were packing your paints for our first trip to the island. You said, we just might find a barn someday. And now, look where we are. Remember that old weather-beaten man who said,
any off-islander who buys that pig barn will be like a man sitting on a hornet's nest.
But we didn't listen, did we? We found that grocer on Main Street, and we persisted.
Belongs to the old town,
he said. But we love that old barn, I blurted out.
Well, my children, if you love it so, I just might sell it to you.
And he did. Wouldn't we have been astonished if we could have seen the turn of events then? The sunken garden, the wall with those great boulders, and the pool with that kingfisher fountain. What luck to have found that tile in the thrift shop, and only $1. And of course, those magnificent gates. Look at them, 12 feet high, forged by hand. When I saw them, I forgot all else. I knew I had no place to put them, no place at all, and yet I knew I must have them. Their beauty must be ours. Those massive gates found in a junkyard, before we even owned this barn, a perfect fit from the roof to the pig pen below, 12 feet. Some might call this a mere folly, a supreme folly. Our supreme folly. My, how the town did talk and criticize us.
All the taunts we endured.
Those who were for us and those who were against. No longer did we hear faint whispers drift across the fence. Storm clouds burst out all around us.
Who ever heard of wrought iron gates or cutting a hole in the side of a barn?
It's preposterous, they said. But some insisted, genius, a stroke of sheer genius. Why, it's sacrilegious. Sacrilegious, but oh, so attractive. So attractive. Surely we will win in the end, I said to Gertrude.
They will see the beauty in what we are doing.
Divine mind knows if we just step aside and let it work.
Remember what Keats said.
Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. He must have had us and our house in mind when he wrote that phrase. I truly believe that art captures the eternal in the everyday. And each day as this house grew, the power of those ideas were assembling themselves like pieces in a puzzle. And now, look at all the beauty we are surrounded by. So many precious objects collected over so many years from so many different places. Those rugs our brother Jay brought back from the Southwest. 2 peacock chairs from Manila. The Russian samovar. 6 golden pillars. And that Chinese porcelain. No one can say that's not native to the island. Why, it came here on a clipper ship. How I do cherish all that we have been blessed with. And yet, a question keeps rising up within me. Is it only what we see, chairs and rugs and tables, which pass in time? Or is there something enduring which lasts beyond the broken chair, that faded fabric, the worn out rug? Something that lasts as a symbol of our love, as a part of eternal love. That eternal love which we name God. Gertrude always said, Hannah, you take yourself much too seriously. She liked to tease me, but we both knew the power of that love. For love and beauty and delight, there is no death. Strange, isn't it? But it seems to me that time is but a limited view of eternity. The moment we call today and the moment we call yesterday seem so very close. I know now that whatever turmoil we created here really had nothing to do with us. The reaction to the house today is, well, amusing, really. Informative, of course, although I dare say it's unnerving at times. Nevertheless, I can't help but remember that nameless man who came to our door each summer. He was like some bird, some migratory bird. We never knew his name. He would just show up from time to time. Miss Monahan, he would say.
My visit to this island is not complete without stopping by at this house. It epitomizes to me the charm, the mystery, the old history, all here in one spot.
Why, I quite agree. Don't you? So here we have John Copenhaver and Larry LeCairn. And can you tell me the name of your short film?
No. Everyone has a story.
Everyone have a story, okay. So can you tell me how you came up with the idea?
Well, actually, we evolved to that. I started off trying to do a film about the Romeos, sort of this group of men that meet every Wednesday. And from that, it evolved to our first time on Nantucket, then to evolve sort of a love story about Nantucket. Mm-hmm. And it's much better now than what we originally envisioned.
Thought about it, yeah. So what would you say was the most enjoyable part?
Oh, definitely getting comfortable seats on the drone. Was once we got that done. Oh yeah, after that it was 200 feet is what I'm allowed to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say the most challenging part of it was?
No question about that, the editing.
The editing, yeah. People don't realize, do they?
Editing is really hard, and it gave me a whole newfound respect for the role of the editor in any kind of film.
Right.
It's really difficult.
Really difficult, yeah. And would you? This is your first short film, and your first short film.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that you guys are going to team up and do another one?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. What, a follow-up to this, or something completely different?
Who knows?
Whole
Who knows?
direction.
The John and Larry show.
Right. That's what I was saying to you. This could be a show, so I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, guys.
All right.
There are three types of people here on our faraway island: native Nantucketers,
summer folk, and the rest of us, the Washashores. What draws us to this island gem? Love, family, work, new beginnings? And what keeps us here? Everyone has a story. Here are a few of them.
I grew up in Virginia, a small town. I met Phil, my husband, and we became engaged and were to be married in October of 1945. I'd heard of Martha's Vineyard for some reason, I don't know why, but never heard of Nantucket. We both decided that I should come to Nantucket and meet his family, which we came over the 4th of July in 1945. And the Murrays always went on a family picnic to the beach. They made homemade ice cream in the old-fashioned churn freezer. So that was my first experience in Nantucket. So we were married on July 15th. We lived in Richmond 5 years. His father wanted him to come back and go into Murray's Toggery, and we moved here in 1951. And I had said, when I'd been all over Nantucket, if I ever did live in Nantucket, I'd like to live in Monomoy. So we bought our first lot for $1,000. And my father-in-law said, "That sand pit, get your money back."
I wanted to marry her. I had rented a limo, and I had taken her back to the house, and she said, "What's this doing here?" So I surprised her and said, "We're going to Nantucket for a week." So
well, and we should say that my best friend from college was staying in the Somerset Cottages just up the road, and we had planned on staying with her for a night or two. Yeah. But we couldn't get to the island, right? It was like sold out flights.
So we took the limo, and going through Connecticut, I don't know what time it was in the morning, early in the morning.
John's trying to fiddle around, and he gets down on the floor of the limousine, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" The next thing you know, he's proposing.
Thank goodness she said yes, because it would have been a very long week, and caught the first High Line. But as soon as we got up to Brant Point, we just started to shuttle around, and as you're clearing the lighthouse, I saw the skyline of Nantucket and the church steeple, and you can see, the slips and docks, and I just turned to Susan. I said, "One day we absolutely have to live here. This is, I'm sold."
My parents heard about Nantucket, and with another couple, they braved coming out here in 1947. And then the following year, in 1948, I guess, they asked if I would like to come with them. And I had a child at that time, and I said, "You want me to bring her?" "Sure. We'll rent a room for you and Betsy, and we'll all be together." And that was the last time I ever spent any summer any place except Nantucket. In 1975, going home in the car, then one of us made the comment, "We're going home to the real world," and the other one said, "Which is really the real world?" And we decided this was the real world, and we were going to quit our jobs. The kids were all out of school, and we were going to move here. And we did.
So I walk down Straight Wharf, and as I'm about to turn into Captain Toby's, I look and I see a sign hanging over the sidewalk, and it says Straight Wharf Theater. Straight Wharf Theater, and I've just done my first play up at Bates, like 2 weeks before. I think theater. So anyway, I try the door's open. I hear voices inside the theater. And I crack open the door and I look inside, and there's people on the stage. I hear psst, psst, come here. And I look, and there's a woman, an elderly woman and a husband, both well-dressed, sitting in the back row. They go, "Here." She goes, "Sit down. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I told her the story. I just did my first play. I was going for a beer. She said, "Well, you have to meet Mac." And so at the first break in rehearsal, she calls for Mac Dixon. She says, Mac, come here, I want you to meet someone. And he walks over to me and he says, "Shay." And I went, "Yeah, Shay." He said, "So can you do an Irish accent?" And I said, well, I could fake one. And he said, good answer. He said, take this. And he hands me the script to the play that he's got in his hand. And he said, go backstage, you're about to make your entrance. I said, what? He said, we have opening night, we're one man short. I just lost the guy who's playing the second furniture removal man. And it turns out that I had stumbled into the final dress rehearsal for Juno and the Paycock by Sean O'Casey. It was a great play, and I met all these great people, and they just opened their arms to me, and it was fantastic. So at the end of the first week, he hands me a $10 bill. I go, what's this for? He said, well, welcome to the theater. You're now a professional, and I expect you to act like one.
I came to the States back in 1999, so it's 17 years ago. I came as a student with a goal to study. I was chasing a girlfriend. During the recess in the summertime, I found out there's an island, and I found a big Lithuanian community. Friends of my age, students, and just a great group. The island has some kind of mixed feelings, because once you lived on the island long enough, you start to hate it, but it comes naturally to you again. But in the long run, you can't live without it. We have both now have fallen in love with this island.
And one day I'm reading a trade journal in bed.
Which says a lot about my sex life.
And there's an ad, and it says Nantucket. And I nudged Garth and said, look, it says Nantucket. And he said, oh, gee, nobody gets a job looking in a newspaper. And I said, but I think I'll call. So I called, and the director of the NHA's name was Jean Weber. So then it's Jean and Jean. It turns out she's a Scotswoman, and I am too. So I was invited to come over to Nantucket.
I was still working, and I decided I'll travel backwards and forwards, and then I decided to heck with this. I'll see her once or twice a year, or else I'll quit my job and come here. And so that's what I did.
Because every time I go off island and I come back, I go, oh,
that's
so
true.
great to be back.
So
I think
she's
it's
right.
still there.
You get a little jaded when you live here. You think the whole world is a bit like this. And then when you go off and come back, you really appreciate how nice it is,
So back in September 2001, I was living in South Florida. I really felt like I needed a change in my life. I wanted something different. I kind of outgrown everything in Florida. And a friend of mine lived on Nantucket. She invited me to come to Nantucket. She said that the lifestyle here was really laid back and relaxing and very chilled. So instead of coming to visit, just to visit, I decided that I was really ready for a change. So I just packed up my apartment, put it all in a U-Haul, and drove up and came to Nantucket on the slow boat. This was like a hidden gem. When I seen Nantucket, I was just like, wow, this looks incredible. The sense of the community on Nantucket is incredible, and I'd never felt anything like that. And it gradually, I feel like I always say to people when they come to the island, like new people, this island either embraces you or not. Like if you give to the island and to your community, then the island will totally give to you in so many ways.
My first trip to Nantucket was fabulous. I went fishing with my brother and Tom Malesko. We left Nantucket Harbor, went across to Tuckernuck, and Tom pulls his boat into the beach and hands me a fly rod. It says, cast over there. Well, I set up Eric's gear. I made one cast and hooked into a striper, a keeper. I was hooked. Everyone who comes to Nantucket has a story. What's yours?
I was so struck by the grayness and the absolute peace and quiet. I mean, it was sort of like going to a place for a retreat.
For me, Nantucket is a place of spiritual rebirth and romance.
And I can't imagine living anywhere else. We have filmmaker Dan Driscoll here, And what is the name of your short film, Dan?
Yeah, my short film is called Traffic, Fear and Loathing on Nantucket.
I saw that name and I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just like so excited. What is it about?
It's a kind of a comedic public service announcement on traffic for Nantucket
And we need help with that, don't we?
in a big way. Yeah.
How did you come about it?
I just decided last spring that for this year's film I'd like to do a comedy. I've never done a comedy before.
Yeah.
So I hope people laugh.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Okay.
The traffic situation on the island is.
It was hilarious. Yeah. It was the #1 topic of discussion in August. Yeah.
Okay. So, what was the most enjoyable part of making this film?
Actually, working with Kevin Flynn, who's a comedian that started here years ago and now does very well. He and I were working on another film project last spring, and I said, any chance you want to work on a short with me this summer based on traffic? And he said, absolutely, and he was in. I wrote it out. He improved it tremendously, and we'll see what the audience thinks.
Great. I can't wait to watch it. So what would you say the most challenging part of it was?
We did a few things on the road we probably shouldn't have done.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what? Tell me.
No. That's always.
You've got to watch it to find out, right?
You've got to watch to find out.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dan.
You're
Good
welcome.
luck with
hon.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Easy street, Nantucket. Should be called miserable, difficult, hard to navigate, jam-packed street. Welcome to Nantucket.
Get your ass off the road. Get rid of that damn phone.
Jesus, where did you get your license? Disneyland?
Asshole. Beautiful, bucolic, picturesque Main Street, Nantucket. It's like a film set. It's surreal. And with all the money out here, you think they'd be able to pave the roads. Ah, you didn't even stop. You didn't even use your blinker. Oh my God. Jeez, you can't give anybody the finger on Nantucket, even though they certainly deserve it sometimes. Because, I mean, they could be going to town too. The island's just too small. It's like, oh, you're going to town. Oh, you're going up Main Street. Oh, you're going to the pharmacy too. Oh, we're buying our kids ice cream. All right, we're #1. That's what I meant to say. Oh, the joys of driving on Main Street in Nantucket. Oh, hey guys, here's a little advice when you're navigating the cobblestones of Main Street. Tell your wife or girlfriend to leave the heels at home, unless they want to snap an ankle. Our roads may appear as narrow as a one-way road or perhaps as small as a donkey path in many parts of the world. But not here. Here, they're two-way streets. Our rotaries. We have these instead of those ugly traffic lights. You know, there's not a traffic light on the entire island, except for this one that Tom brings to just freak people out once in a while. I think he's doing a good job. In fact, he's freaking me out. Tom? Tom? Well, we actually have 4 rotaries, 2 real ones, and we place them close to one another just for your convenience. And a fake one that nobody knows what the heck to do with, so we just kind of make up our own rules. And the 4th one's here in Sconset, and it's really quite quaint because, after all, it is Sconset. We have a beautiful flagpole and little bits of grass here and there, and beautiful little tiny non-garish signs which remind you which direction to go around the rotary, and of course, some beautiful hydrangeas. Oh, Barbara, these need some water. Barbara, can you talk to Todd the pool boy? These need water. Once you've mastered our narrow local roads, our crazy cobblestone Main Street, and our rotaries, you, my friend, are ready for the ultimate Nantucket driving challenge. You are ready for 5 corners, or as I like to call it, the cluster fork. The rules for navigating 5 corners are really quite simple. The first car that arrives goes first, second, second, third, third, and so on. In fact, these great little hand conversations take place as everyone's at the corner. It's like, everything works perfectly until August arrives. And some of the locals, if you screw up,
Oh my God, what a douchebag! Oh my God, what did you just do?
What?
That's awesome! Where did you get that?
That's just something I've been working on.
You want one, yeah!
All right, on Thursday.
Hey, hopefully I've given you some tips on how you too can safely navigate around the streets of... Hopefully I've given you some tips on how you too can safely navigate around the streets of Nantucket. Guys, we're gonna have to wait till like November or December to do this, guys. We're a December stroll. Maybe, hopefully I've given you some... Forget it. Forget it. Just forget it.
So here we have Joseph Cardell, and I'd like to find out what the name of your short film is, Joseph.
It's called Comeuppance.
And can you tell me how you came up with this short film?
Well, it was probably about 50% improvised, and then part of it was kind of the storyline was in my mind. I created it as I was driving up to Nantucket from Baltimore, and then relied a lot on the improvisation and the different settings and the different actors there to have the final result, because I had no idea what it was going to be like when I started making it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say was the most challenging part of making this film?
The challenging part? Well, I mean, we work with a lot of we work with kind of limited resources. So I think every time I make a movie, it's kind of challenging that we don't have as many resources as I'd maybe hope to have to create my full vision. But at the same time, I think that's kind of a fun challenge to try to work with what you have and basically $0 budget, stuff we find in childhood basements and stuff we find in the shed, like as props, and costumes are, old hand-me-downs and stuff like that. That's kind of our style. So, cool. Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say was the most enjoyable part?
Most enjoyable part? Well, probably the editing, I'd say, because we got a lot of just raw footage, and then really the movie kind of came together when I sat down with it for a few weeks and was able to kind of fully make it into kind of what I was envisioning. It's a black and white. It's a silent film, so it has a certain aesthetic that we couldn't really capture when we were filming it, but. After editing, then I got the final version, and that's yeah, that was
Very
great.
Cool.
Thanks.
So you're going to be making more short films after this?
We are, yeah. And tomorrow and Monday we're filming another silent film. Yeah,
you then.
Yeah. We're just going to keep going and see what happens. I mean, I just do it for fun and hoping to get some more opportunity out of these films.
Cool.
And,
Well, thank you for submitting it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And good luck. So here we have Kit Noble, filmmaker. Hi, good, how are you?
Great, thanks.
Good. So what is the name of your film?
The name of my film is Bucky.
And what is Bucky about?
Bucky is about a tugboat that runs from New Bedford to Nantucket, and Bucky pulls all the heavy materials to the island, all the building materials.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
him?
Yep.
Wow,
Well,
I
he's
didn't
got
even...
a captain that drives them.
Yeah. Not the boat on his own, like floating over?
Right. There's other ways supplies get here, but he does a lot of the heavy lifting for the island.
Oh, cool. So how did you come about that?
I just discovered that there was a tugboat here. I introduced myself to the captain, Bruce, who's in the he'll be in the audience this evening, and he said it'd be fine if I wanted to do a film about it.
And
so he's my interview in the film. I interview Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say was your most enjoyable part of making this short film?
I got to ride on the Bucky overnight from New Bedford. So we left at sunset and slept a little bit, as much as you can on a tugboat.
And how long did it take to get there?
10 to 9 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I slept for 6 hours and then I got up and shot again in the morning when we were pulling into the harbor.
Cool. And what would you say the most challenging part would be?
Scheduling. The boat has its own schedule, and we'd line up shots, and then Bucky would arrive in the morning and it'd be too dark to shoot. Because he's on his own schedule.
Right.
So we'd have to try again and again and again until we got.
Right. What was there anything that stands out that a part of the film that you weren't expecting to happen?
The captain had been involved in an accident, and when I first asked him about doing the film, he said he'd rather not have that be a part of it. But during the interview, he brought it up, so we ran with it, and it ends up being kind of a substantial piece of the film. It was pretty tragic. I mean, it's not tragic because he survived and he's doing well, but it's a pretty horrific accident, is what I should say.
What
Yeah.
happened on the boat?
Yeah, you'll learn all about it in the film.
Can't wait to watch it. I haven't seen your film at all,
Like I said, that became kind of a big chunk of the film.
Okay.
So.
So this is your how many films is you made? This is number.
I don't know. 4 or 5?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
For this festival, number 2. But I've done the Nantucket Film Festival
And then Nantucket 24.
Nantucket 24, Nantucket by Nature. So maybe it's 6.
Wow.
I'm ready to retire.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Can't wait to see it.
I'm looking forward to my Lifetime Achievement Award.
That's right. That's next year. Next year. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
The Bucky was built in the Gulf of Mexico. It was launched in 1976. The old name on it was Mr. Bucky, and it was New York, New York. So it was built for a New York customer down in the Gulf. So I think in most of its life service was probably a small harbor tug or an assist tug in New York Harbor. I found the listing for this tugboat through a broker down in Louisiana, and they said the boat was in New York. It was a boat that used to dock right in New Bedford. The broker had stole the listing and was putting it on his website. Turned out it wasn't listed with a broker at all. It was owned by the U.S. Marshal, and it was in a pretty nasty Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The boat was called the Mr. Bucky, and the previous owner had told me that there's some story about the man who had this boat built named it after his son, who had some kind of terminal illness, and Mr. Bucky was a nickname for his kid. We purchased this boat out of New Bedford. We also purchased some kind of bad history with the boat, which made it difficult for us to get into business and set up accounts with people that had fear of anything to do with this boat because of all the people that the previous owner had screwed over. So they're like, no, we don't do business with that, I'm sorry. And so it took some time, and we changed the name and changed the colors. We're going to paint a different color, we're going to rename it. We couldn't come up with a name, and the whole idea of changing the name of the boat, you know, the bad juju that goes along with that. If you change the name of the boat, you know, you're asking for trouble, you know. The boat's not going to be happy with that. We sort of adjusted the name. We lost the Mr. and just called it the Bucky. It's 65 feet overall. The gross registered tons is about 56. She's just shy of 1,000 horsepower. The barge alone weighs about 450 tons without any material on it. And we added about 100 tons by putting this concrete deck on it. We can hold up to 1,200 tons cargo on this barge. So the barge will go from drawing about 2.5, 3 feet of water to drawing about 10, 11 feet of water. We generally have 2 licensed guys on the boat, and you really don't need anything beyond that because this boat's so easy to handle, and with the electric winch. If we didn't have the winch, you'd probably need 2 guys. That's one of the nice features of the boat, that we actually have a towing winch. A lot of boats this size, they're dealing with 3-inch hawsers that have to be pulled in by hand or used at the capstan. And when that's iced up in January or February and you're trying to work on deck, that's not any fun. Where we get to stand back there and look down on the deck and turn a switch and go back in the wheelhouse and watch the winch on the video camera. Like they say in the tug business, it's hours of boredom coupled with moments of sheer terror. The captain that was working for us at the time, he was at the controls on the back deck, and I went up to release the headline so we could get out of here, and the headline was stuck behind one of the cleats. It was all jammed up, and he was already pulling away from the dock, and I was madly trying to let the line go. I couldn't get it released, so I was just going to toss the whole line ashore. I was just moving up to the end of the barge, didn't realize that the wind had shifted the barge and we were coming back at the dock. And I got pinned between the outside of the coamings and one of those black fendering pads. I had a bunch of clothing on, and I felt something on my back, and I looked up and I realized that we were against the dock already. And I just got crushed against the fendering pad by the barge. I got smashed and passed out and fell into the water. I had like a down vest on under my coat and probably just enough trapped air that it kept me up for a little while. But then Tim stabilized the barge and ran up there, and I looked up, and he's dropping a big dock line down to me. And I figure I'm just smashed, crushed, I can't do anything. Well, you're tossing me a line. What am I going to do with that? Now, he was pretty sharp in that moment. He had a plan, and this was a big, one of these big 1.5-inch dock lines. It's a floating line, and it had a big eye splice in the end. And he dropped the loop right around me. And he said, "Can you lift your arms?" And so I was able to lift my arms, and so it made a sling under my armpits. And they hauled me up. Like 28 rib fractures, and my pelvis was all broken in the front. So that was January. I think I was back on my feet walking in May. I did have a moment there where I just had the real sharp realization that I was a dead guy. And when that barge was crushing me, I've seen it. I've seen what this barge will do when it's moving, this slow and it's loaded. It'll just break, crush things. And, flesh and bones does not stop anything. As I felt that pressure on me, I realized, okay, this is how it happens. I have a family and 4 young children, and I'm not going to get to see my kids grow up. And it just makes me appreciate, that having another chance and a sort of a different perspective on what my life is, and an appreciation for what I do have. Our New Bedford end of the operation, where we load, it's 50 miles away. People think, oh, you're running over from Cape Cod, but there's really nowhere to load on Cape Cod. It's pretty important that we time our departure from New Bedford with the proper tide. Primarily because we go through Woods Hole, which is a pretty sketchy little passage we have to get through, and the current runs very strongly through there 4 or 5 knots, and we physically could not get through against that tide with a loaded barge. We come into Nantucket with aggregate. That's probably the bulk of what we do. And we pull in here and the machines are set up, ready to go. We lay alongside the dock and the big excavator starts loading the trucks. And when we have a big enough hole to work in, they drop a small skid loader into that hole and starts delivering material from the side of the barge that the excavator can't reach. And we just keep advancing the barge along in front of the excavator until we're emptied out and cleaned up. One of the other little side jobs that we picked up over the years is providing a platform for fireworks shows out on the water. And we've done the Nantucket show, I think, for 5 years now. It's kind of fun to get involved and see how that whole process works and to see it really up close. I think we got a lot of good years left in the Bucky. We've brought her back from a pretty rough condition and did a lot of steel work on the hull. The engines are fresh. We've gussied up the interior and this boat seems to be getting better and better under our watch. And as long as we can keep up with the federal regulations, I see this boat staying in the business for quite a while.
Hey, so what do you think of that? 9 films, right? Whoa! Wow! 1, 2, 3. All right, here's the thing. This is the time to take out your ballots and anything you got to scratch them with, and let's vote. What did you like the best, you know? A, B, C, D, E, you know, I, and just check the box. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask the filmmakers to come up to the stage, and then we'll do a little Q&A while this voting is going on. I want to thank Lance Kelly, too, for those of you who are leaving before you leave. I want to thank Lance Kelly. He's one of the patrons, one of the sponsors of this entire festival, who with Kit Noble and Danny and the team, Lisa Fry, makes this happen every year. So would the filmmakers come up to the stage, please? So the directors. Okay, so Beth Weldon, if you're here, and Nico, are you here, brother? I just met you last night. Andrew Cromartie, are you here? And Don Serow, are you here? How about Thomas and Jack Brosco? Are you guys here, the brothers? Big Trouble? Come on up. Come on the stage. Yeah, here they are. Oh, here we are. All right, good. John Copenhaver. Who are we missing? Larry? Are you here? Larry LeCain? Come on up, brother. Come on. Danny Driscoll, you got to come up too, bro. Joseph Cardell. Hey, Joe, are you here? You're here, man. All right, good. Kit, are you here? Everybody here? And Beverly Hall. Here's Kit. Okay, so we have another mic. And this mic is on too. So I tell you what, we can pass this around. Why don't we pass it around? Let's start with you, Beverly.
Oh, thanks.
Ladies first. Hi.
The oldest one here.
Okay, so you're voting, right? But while you're voting, because it doesn't take that long, let's start the Q&A, because we started a little late and we want to end on time. So I think I'm going to get down here and be like you. So, wow. Can we have a round of applause for these directors? Wow. No. Oh, yeah. Somebody handed me a ballot on their way out, and I'm going to give you their ballot if I can. Here you go. Take that. Okay. So I can't vote. I don't know what to say. They're all good, right? And how do you compare dramas and silent movies with comedies and documentaries? And, I don't know how do you compare. But look, it's an audience favorite award. It's like, okay, which one did you have the most fun watching, I guess? Which one do you think is the best? I don't know. Is there any best in life? I don't know what to say. But just go for it. Because we have an award to give out, and the award is really cool. So All right, let's talk about this. Beverly, you got the mic. So Beverly, I want to ask everybody the same question, maybe. Okay, so tell us about what inspired you and how you went about making your film about the Monahan sisters and Greater Light.
All right, so I've been working at Greater Light impersonating Hannah, or interpreting her, all summer. So I got really excited about doing this, and suddenly I realized this should be recorded. And Mark helped me fulfill that part of the ambition to do a film out of this, and I had this dream to make a film for this film festival. I've never done one before. I'm a still photographer, so I had a lot of good input from films that are stills that I'd taken of Greater Light. I was just inspired by Hannah. I just love what she said about art, which is all what this week is about. Art is a little glimpse of the eternal, and there's something about art that is so universal. And Hannah's philosophy that for love and beauty and delight, there is no end.
You know, Beverly, I don't know about anybody else, but I had the feeling when I was watching this that Beverly and Hannah Monahan are very much related spiritually. Am I right? and that
we're sort of morphing into each other.
What you just said about her is true about you. So anyway, thank you for that film. And let me just say, one of the things I noticed about that, and maybe you did too, about the editing of that film. That was really ambitious, sort of overlaps and dissolves, and there was vocal echo effects, and there was a lot of technical work in there. So what inspired that, and who edited your film with you?
Well, the great Nico, he's here. He should take
Where's
some
Nico?
credit.
There he is. All right.
Nico was able to interpret my vision and my sense of what this film was all about, to get that sense of nostalgia and that overlap, the sense of memory, the sense of time passing and yet time standing still.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
So here we go.
Let me hand this to Nico just for a second. Thank you, Beverly. So, Nico, let me just say, you're new to the island. I met you last night. You've only been here for a couple of months, dude. You're already involved in 2 of these films.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So, if people want to make films, you know, you want to call Nico, too, right? Because you may be a director, you may have an idea, but you don't know about the technical side of it. And so, you want to call the man who knows, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Nico, tell me, how are you and Beverly hooked up? Do you working with Lisa at Channel 18?
Yes. So when I came down here, I ended up meeting with Lisa at Channel 18, and she basically told me I'd hire you right now if I could. And that's kind of been how it's gone in a few different places. You know, I've always loved production, and Lisa introduced me to Beverly. Beverly was the first person I worked with on the island, and it just became something more of it turned from a professional relationship, and now Beverly and I are very good friends. You know, I do a lot more than just the films for her. I help her out in various ways around her house. I've also started working with Arlene O'Reilly, also the film with Beth as well, you know? So I've only been on the island for so long. I love it here. I love it here.
This is Nantucket. This way it works, right? Everybody, you pass everybody on. And also for anybody who's interested, he is an Apple genius. He worked as a genius in one of the Apple stores. Which one?
I used to work at Nashua, New Hampshire, so I used to get all the tax-free traffic.
So do you still do consulting about Apple computers here in the island?
Oh, yeah. If you guys have a Mac, iPhone, whatever.
All right. He may be the only
name
Apple
it.
genius on the island. All right. I'm going to take this from you, brother. Welcome. I'm going to talk to the young guys, because here they are. And I know that you're Joseph, right?
Yeah, Jack.
And you're Jack, right?
Tom.
You're Tom. I'm sorry. I'm Joseph. Oh, no, I know you're not Joseph. Okay. So you guys are the Bosco brothers.
Yes.
And you have made the short film, obviously, about the guy who called Tomfoolery, right?
Yes.
So tell us how and they made a film here last year. I don't know if anybody saw it. I saw it. Everybody loved it. It was kind of great. And we're very happy to have you back. Thank you for doing another film. So, yeah, right? So in the working of it, do you write this, conceive it, and work on it together, direct it together? I remember last year you were the director and you were acting in it again. Did you do that same kind of thing, or how to work?
I'd say it was pretty similar, but we cannot take full ownership of the idea. This is based on a true tale. When you guys go home, check your attics. There might be somebody there. It happened to us in our house while we weren't there, which admittedly is a lot of the time. Sorry. There was somebody that was sleeping there for a very long time, and like we I'm not sure if we ever like met them or saw them, but we knew. So, but back to the question at hand. Yeah, he did a lot of the writing, he did a lot of directing and camera work. I was like assistant, like vice in all of those things, and I was the one in front of the camera.
All right, let's talk about the directing then. So who actually did the writing? Do you improvise it, or do you have a real script that you're working on from the beginning?
Well, yes, we try and do a script. It's a lot easier when you do it, as past knowledge would reveal, but...
Don't you love it? Okay, keep going.
Debatable. But yeah, I do a lot of writing, I do a lot of brainstorming and thinking about what it will be, and Thomas does a lot of the speaking and the acting out. He says what he can and cannot do, and it's compromise, but it's really 50-50.
And did you shoot this? did you shoot this here last summer? And how long did it take to actually shoot the film?
It took a summer. We had to all crunch it down into a summer because we had the idea and we had a lot of time in our hands.
Yeah. So you shot it here this past summer, and you edited it this fall, and then you sent it into the film festival.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just for, like, that's what it takes, to make a film like that. Okay. So you guys are great, and thank you so much. All right. We're going to go on, right? Amazing. That was a drama comedy, right, with acting. And by the way, you notice he does not have an English accent in real life. And I want to put a shout out to Scott Capizzo, who plays the detective. I am sure that Scott Capizzo might have been interviewed by a few detectives in his time. Don, let's talk about your film just for a second, because it's completely different from their film. Yours is a very serious and very interesting documentary. So could we talk about what inspired you to do that? His was, let's talk about it. That's about the nuclear missile crisis and the whole Kennedy years, and that talks about the Nantucket bomb shelter. Go ahead.
And basically, there's a relatively new book out on Mary's Mosaic, and it talks about JFK's lover, one that really captured his heart. And he turned to as a confidant, and this is a part of a continuing story that has been unfolding over the years of what really went on behind the Kennedy assassination and who all benefited from it. Many people say that, some people say it was the mob, some people say it was the oil men, some people, they were all working together because they all had a common interest. JFK was moving the government and some of our laws a little too quickly for those that weren't, either him or Bobby. And basically that's the name of that tune. And it's the film, the short, points a finger without pointing a finger. It sort of talks around it and puts the pieces together so that you can see really what is going on. And again, in this media-laden environment, which we're more and more growing into, information is only going to continue to come out over the course of time.
Yeah, it was really expertly done, and thank you so much for shedding a light on something that's been a big mystery my whole life and your whole life. I feel like I got a glimpse. But let me ask you one technical question, because there were a lot of dissolves and editing choices that you had to do as well. And you're shooting real photographs, and you're shooting still photographs, and you have maps, and you have interviews and archival footage. So how did you do that, and how long did it take?
Well, bless you. And this is something I did learn from TV 18, is that you lay down the audio first. And I laid it down to 10 minutes and 4 seconds. And Chris told me, they'll disqualify you for that 4 seconds. Well, the 4 seconds was 2 seconds of black on either end of the film, which is something you do. So, foom, foom, there it goes. It's now 9 minutes and 59 seconds long. So you lay down the audio first, and then you superimpose the images on top of it. And that's where it was when I turned it in. It needed another grooming layer. And I'm going to readmit it in other locations, a little more polished than it already is. Any work of art is never finished.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Don. Thank you so much. I want to talk to Joseph about a film that's completely different from a documentary. This is Joseph Cardell, who directed and starred in the silent film at the end of at the end of the festival. This is our third year we've been watching these films. That's, 30 films we've seen. We've never seen a silent film. We've never seen one maybe inspired by Charlie Chaplin-esque kind of stuff. Want to talk about how that came to be, brother?
Well, definitely Charlie Chaplin is a huge influence, not only in film, but just kind of in artistry and in character in general. You know what I mean? So I've always been really into his work. and I kind of adhere by this to the same filmmaking process, which is very improv based. It's about 50% improv. So I had about half an idea for what the movie was going to be, and then we just kind of went in there and saw what happened. It was actually 2 months ago to the day that we filmed it. We filmed it one day.
Wow.
So it was it's very improv based, and that's kind of I feel kind of where the magic come from or something.
But don't tell me that you chose all those locations in one day. Those were beautifully chosen. It looked to me like you picked favorite spots.
Well, I mean, definitely growing up here, I know my favorite spots.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, I don't know if any other teenagers or any other Nantucketers did this, but I definitely went down Tuppen Sea Links and kind of hung out down there.
Yeah.
Underneath the cliff quite a bit, because it's kind of a little sanctuary of Nantucket north side beach that is usually very empty. So I knew right away that was a great place for me to start it, because I knew in August, when the beaches are packed, that area would be
still quiet,
quite empty. Yeah.
And I see that you also followed another important rule, which is that you got people to work with that you knew really well.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to those people I work with, because they are my family.
Yeah.
Really, Caleb is my brother.
Gardell, who's the actor who's his boss, his older brother.
Vince is my best friend growing up. My mom did the music, which is pretty fascinating.
Beautiful, was absolutely beautiful.
I want to just really quickly shout out to my mom. What was interesting about the music, and what I find very fascinating about how she did that is it was. We're First Take Philosophy Films. All the movies that we do are all improv based. All kind of the first thought that you have. So with the music, she watched the film for the first time and did the music just the first time watching it while watching it. So I thought that was quite amazing.
Wow.
That the music was also improvised.
Wow! Congratulations.
In the style of silent films, because that's how they used to do it in silent films. There would be somebody there playing the piano, watching, interpreting the music. So I was super happy to have her involved, and I thought it kind of made the movie in my eyes having her on board.
And Frida playing your
Frida,
lover.
yeah. I don't think she's here tonight, but yeah, she made it happen.
It was fantastic. I've never seen anything quite like it. Congratulations. Let's go to the other end of the stage. All right. Thank you very much, Joseph. So, Kit, let's talk about your film. This is Kit Noble. Kit's film is the last one we just saw with Bruce Beebe on that fantastic Bucky tugboat. So tell us about. Did you know Bruce? What inspired you to do that story? You'd seen the tug come and go.
I'd always been intrigued with tugboats since I was a kid. Since I read Scruffy the Tugboat or whatever it was, whatever we were forced to read. And then when I learned that there was a tugboat that worked here on Nantucket, and the name of the boat was Bucky, or the Bucky, I'm like, there's a movie here for sure. So I reached out to Captain Bruce Beebe, who I
is
know.
Bruce here?
Yes, there
Bruce.
he is. Great. Thanks for coming, Bruce.
Fantastic, man.
And Bruce was great. There was a lot of logistics. I have to thank him for all the. There was a million texts that went back and forth and phone calls. The logistics of trying to get the shots I wanted when the boat was coming in and out, because the boat has its own schedule, and I was trying to work with that. So it was complicated.
And then you had to take a trip to the Cape and get those shots there?
Yeah, I took the ferry to the New Bedford ferry, and actually came across from New Bedford overnight with the Bucky.
Wow.
Which was a cool experience in itself.
And Bruce, you're a fantastic subject and your story is kind of amazing, man. And we're also happy that you're alive, I have to say.
I had to make a promise to Bruce that I wouldn't make the entire film about his accident, but it was so gripping that I was like, it's got to be a part of it.
So when you started making the film, you didn't know that Bruce had this experience, and did it come out, or did you know?
No, I actually did know about it, but again, that wasn't my goal. I just wanted to make it about the boat and what its job was.
But it gives it such a heart, right? That story, right?
Yeah. And I also want to thank Doug Cody. I don't know if he's still with us. He did the interview, which was great.
Yeah.
He's the one that got the story out of
fantastic.
Bruce, so.
And can we talk about the photography, because it's stunningly shot. You're a great photographer yourself, and obviously a filmmaker as well. but you have these drone shots in there, and I know that Nathan Palmer is here, who I always think is my partner in crime on Grey Lady. Nathan Palmer, the great drone operator, is here, and I know he's worked in other people's films. But did you do your own drone shots?
I did some of my own stuff, but when I was on Bucky, I couldn't.
You couldn't
do that, so I was in touch with Nathan, and he.
Nathan, okay.
Yeah, we had actually one morning we talked about these frustrations on timing. He was at the dock at 4:30, waiting for us to come in, and we actually arrived early, and it was still dark. And the only thing you could see was the drone glowing in the sky, and unfortunately the footage was unusable, so we had to do it again. So.
Yeah. And then did you edit yourself?
I did not. I have a fabulous editor. He's actually
so you have a team
off island, a guy named Christo. He's working on a lot.
Let me just ask, just a raise of hands. How many of the directors actually edited their own films? Right. Okay. And you guys edited yours. Okay. And John, you guys did. Okay. So I want to say I'm a director. I could not edit my film. So anyway, hats off to you for having learned how to do that.
I can't say enough about a great editor.
John, why don't you just talk quickly about yours, because yours is the film about my first time. What happened to the people, and it starts with that beautiful drone shot. I think it's one of Nathan's shots of the boat coming around the Grand Point. But he interviews people about what happened when they first. What inspired you?
Well, first of all, let me say that I was inspired to make a film by coming to this festival last year. And I sat out there with you all, and I said, hey, I can do this. I've got an idea. And
Larry, you asked him to shoot with you.
I said, Larry, hey, you want to help me on this? And he said, sure. So we started off by looking at, there's a group of men that have lunch every Wednesday called Romeo's, retired old man eating out. And I thought I'd do something with them. And it kind of evolved. And when you live on Nantucket, say, well, what do you do here? What are the people like? Where do they come from? And it turns out that everybody has a story. I could have done 100 of these, and everyone would be different. And that was the fun part. And I just happened to have these 8 different interviews, and I could have done, like I said, 80. All of you have stories. Everybody has a story, and it was kind of fun just reaching out and getting them to tell their story. The hard part was the editing. I had John for 20 minutes, and I got him down to a minute and 15 seconds or whatever it was. That was hard. I could have done a whole thing on John Shea, or on John and Susan Trudell, or Ann Bratt. Everybody has a story, but squeezing it down is the hard part. Editing is so hard.
And Larry, just talk about, because I know you're a great cameraman. Let's talk about your collaboration. So you would light the scene and set the camera, and was that the partnership?
I want to say, first of all, it's an honor to be nominated, just to be here at all.
Yeah.
Lighting interviews for 40 years, yes.
Yes.
I had to go deep into my memory to remember how to put the light up and the camera and the microphone. I think I got away with it.
And am I right to think as well, just for the audience, that you're also at Channel 18 and working with Lisa Fry and that team there, correct?
Not this year.
Not this year.
Yeah, last year I was there all the time.
Last year you were there, you were all the time.
Next year maybe.
Okay, maybe next year. Okay, so anyway, this is the team. Anyway, excellent work, beautifully done. And I love that editing, whatever you did, you just jump cut, but it didn't really make any difference. You just cut into people's stories and cut to the chase.
That's how we condensed you from 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was
down to
really
1
good.
minute.
It was, really good. What editing software did you use?
We used Premiere Pro.
Premiere.
Yeah.
It worked, right? It was great. Yeah. Beth, let's talk about your film, because talk about everybody having a story. That was an amazing story. This is the first film we saw about Larry Gross, the beekeeper, who we all know and love, right? I mean, Jimmy Gross, I'm sorry. That's Larry. Is Jimmy here? What an amazing story. So Beth, are you friends? How did it happen?
Well, Jimmy helped me get started in keeping bees several years ago. And I knew him before then, but I decided I should make him a star of Nantucket. And we have many people that have become idols in this town and all, but I think Jimmy is the master beekeeper of Nantucket. And his information, his enthusiasm, his passion, his humor for bees and what he does with them is just inexhaustible and infectious. And that was my intention, what I wanted to show to everybody else that I've been able to see in him over the years. So I hope I was able to do that. And it also, having that opportunity to, I've got a little bee vibe going on here right now. He and bees. Bees are most amazing, amazing creatures, critters as he calls them, and we so need them for our well-being and our life and our livelihood, and he just exemplifies all of that. So I would encourage everybody from this film, since it was a little bit of a public service film in a couple of areas, to really find out about Lyme disease and the other diseases from that, which we think we all know about, but we don't necessarily know everything about it. And also to know about how important they are for our food. As Jimmy tells everybody, every third bite, is it? Yeah. Is every third bite of our food is pollinated by bees. And without that happening, we'd be really low on our food intake.
And there's something to be learned about Beth's film, which I want to say, and Nico, I know you worked on it together with her,
Right,
and that you helped shoot and edit, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so it was again a teamwork, again working with Nico. I want to say hats off because it was elegantly shot, beautifully lit, right? But it was also very simple, right? It was just like a camera and a table and a really interesting subject, and you let the guy talk, and you feel his heart and soul, and you hear that knowledge, and you change lives because of it. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay? Thank you. We have two more filmmakers. Andrew Cromartie, so let's talk about, the very different from a documentary film, and so a lot of the ones that we've just been talking about. Yours was the wonderful film about the women who want to go out to the Navy base and break into the bomb shelter, and strangely enough, they're very related. So tell us about how that was inspired and how it came to be.
Well, I'm thrilled that somebody made a documentary about the bunker as well, and I had no idea about any of it. Yeah, I didn't even know about me. I grew up in Tom Nevers, and that bunker was terrifying to me. And I never knew, I just found this out 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, that you could go inside. It was public access. So I was reading this blog. I'm like, oh my God, you can actually go in this bunker? So since the deadline was coming up, I quickly wrote a script and got my friends and family together and got all my toys, my drone, and my camera. And we filmed in one day, and it looked great. We had a great time. And then I said, okay, now we have to get in the bunker, because that's the rest of the story. And I should have known that when you're trying to get a hold of somebody on Nantucket who has a responsibility, it's not going to take a couple days or a couple weeks. So after the deadline, I finally got a hold of somebody who said that there was no way I was actually getting in that bunker, that it's completely closed off now. Because this blog I was reading, it was last year. Somebody was like, I found this bunker, and it was like the JFK bunker, and they took pictures, and they're posing in it. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's going to be my horror movie. So, as a producer, I learned that when you write a script, first make sure that you can get in the thing. So I had to change everything last minute, but it was still a really good time, and that's actually why I wanted to do it, was just to have a good time. And I'm honored that I could actually be in this lineup.
No, Andrew, it was excellent. Okay, it was excellent. And first of all, it was beautifully shot. Yours, like the Brosco brothers and a couple of other films, the Cardell film, have actors in it, and they're acting.
Yes.
And so you have two actors, and Alexander Kafko, and again,
and Frida.
And Frida, so fantastic. But you scripted it, you wrote it, and you shot it very tightly. But am I right to think that you did your own drone work, because you have some beautiful shots that rise up and fall down, like we would. The first time you ever?
Yes.
Yeah, really?
Well, so I bought the drone thinking I'm going to be droning everywhere, except you can't really drone in windy conditions. So I'm like, this is pointless. I just spent all this money on the windiest island in the world. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go do it anyway. And I thought, even if it gets broken, I don't care. And it didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
Congratulations. It was
Thank you. Thank you
excellent.
very much.
Excellent, right? And you know, we're saving Dan Driscoll for last. We love Dan Driscoll, who's one of the founders of this whole festival, a man who is a professional cinematographer who shot all over the country, all over the world, but who brought to the island, to the film festival today, something that I didn't expect from you, a comedy about traffic on Nantucket, right? Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, as I approached the film this year, I wanted to do something I had never done before. I have done probably thousands of commercials and have never done a comedy per se. So last spring, came up with this crazy idea. Happened to be working with Kevin Flynn at the time on another project. I said, hey, you want to be in a film for free this summer? And thank God he said yes. So, and then Andrew was one of our shooters, Phil Masters, Tom McGlynn, a cast of thousands you probably recognize.
Driving around the island.
It was a lot of fun. We shot it in about 2.5 days.
2.5 days.
Yeah.
Okay, it was really good, really funny, and really well thought out, because not only do you have the plan, all Kevin lying on Main Street and cars passing and all that stuff.
And we broke a few laws.
But then you also have that great model shot of the intersections and the 5 corners, you know, and how it's all crazy, and you know, it was really well done. So I have to say, it's not only in the shooting and in the execution of it, but it was in the conception of it, right? That because the film built in its insanity, right? Which was really good. The way your film builds in its insanity, and your film, all the good films build in their excitement, right, or their complication, whatever it might be. But yours did that extremely well.
Thank you.
So look, I know we're out of time for the interviews. I want to thank all the filmmakers, but before they leave, Lance, this is Lance Kelly. I want Lance to present the award. Lance, yeah, please, brother, because and talk about this particular award.
First of all, this is not only an award, but it's a handmade sculpture by Billy Sherry. So this is a very special shorty. So Nantucket has spoken. We do have a winner, and Nantucket likes comedy. So we're going to say that the winner is Dan Driscoll.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we want to thank Billy Sherry. This is called The Shorty.
No.
Listen, I just want to say one more thing. First of all, congratulations to all these filmmakers, right? There's no bad films. They're all really kind of great, right? And for those of you who might want to watch them again or tell a friend who wasn't able to come today, they're going to be available online at the NantucketShorts.com. It's the website, and NCTV. The websites for NCTV and NantucketShorts.com has all the films that have played over the last 2 seasons, correct, online, and including the winners, their film last year, Dan's film this year, but all the films from each of the seasons, and all these films that we saw today. You know, we only get to show it once here at the Dreamland. We want to thank everybody from the Dreamland for hosting this today, but to let you know that the dream continues online. So please contribute to it, make a film, come see us next year, and thank you so much.